Hello, tacticians! With the Skulls event in full swing, presumably, and with the Watchers of the Throne survival event being visible, the next faction, the Custodes, has finally officially been unveiled by Snowprint. So, let's have a look at them! Oh, there's currently 3 of them visible: Aesoth, being uncommon, Kariyan, and Trajann Valoris himself. Let's start with Aesoth. Looks like he's bringing his shield, which is awesome. Traits-wise, he has the apparently all Custodes martial kata, which causes him to take reduced damage from normal attacks and to deal double damage against summons. Other than that, he has big target because he's a chunky boy, and resilient. In fact, all 3 of the Custodes are resilient so far, so I think I will skip on this one for the next Custodes. Right, so I don't know his vital stats, but I'm gonna assume he's gonna be tanky as all hell. Since he seems to be bashing with his shield for his attack, I suspect he will be physical damage, something like 1 hit. And his active ability deals quite a lot, seemingly, physical damage to an adjacent enemy target and an additional adjacent enemy unit. Not necessarily adjacent to each other, just adjacent to Aesoth. Both enemies are stunned for 1 round, and Aesoth receives 50% less damage, probably stacking, or not stacking, increasing with rarity, I mean, for 1 round. This ability can be used multiple times per battle, but has a cooldown of 2 rounds. Which means that in raids you will be able to use it twice, if I do the maths correctly. So on turn 1, then turn 2 is cooldown, turn 3 is cooldown, turn 4 you can use it again. And you could use it again at turn 6, not 6, 7, which doesn't happen in raids. Alright, so this will be more of a PvP ability, I think, interfering with the enemy team when Aesoth can get stuck in and block the abilities by stunning. And of course he will be able to survive because he will take at least, or at most I guess, half damage, and he is also resilient. And he takes 20% less damage from normal attacks, to which the enemies he has just hit will be reduced to, for the most part. Okay, very tanky, very wow. What about his passive? Stand Vigil. Friendly surrounding units have extra armor and deal plus 20% damage with attacks that are not normal attacks. Okay. If a friendly Adeptus Custodes uses an active ability, which they can do repeatedly, and I wonder whether if a friendly Adeptus Custodes includes Aesoth himself, Stand Vigil affects all other friendly units within 2 hexes for 1 round. Okay, so this will work rather well with Row. In the plus 20% boost isn't all that great. It certainly will not outperform Vitruvius's effect on him, which is basically plus 50%, but it's something. It's an option. And of course it will affect all abilities that don't trigger normal attacks, so Karn's triple hit combo or both of his passive attacks per turn will be buffed by this. And then of course normal abilities. I will specifically mention Sarkael because he is a good example for this. And he will be mentioned again later. Also, Kariyan has a secondary attack which he uses every turn, which will also be affected by this. So there is already synergy there. Okay, that's Aesoth basically gone through. Let's check out Kariyan. So he's got the martial kata as well. He's got a beast slayer, so he will deal extra damage to big targets and vehicles, also giving him a random block chance. I don't think he will have a block item. I suspect he will have one weapon, a crit booster, maybe a second weapon, and well, at this point for me it's 50-50 whether he has a second weapon for an extra crit chance or an armor pierce. I would lean towards him having the extra crit chance, to be honest. Then he has rapid assault, standard by now, parry, so his survival in melee is slightly increased, and resilient. Okay, looks like he will be a melee only, power attack, either 2 hits or maybe 4 hits or a number of hits. But I think he will have a higher attack and fewer hits because of how Trajann works. Anyway, his active ability deals 3 times eviscerating damage to an adjacent enemy. This attack and attacks from Legacy of Combat, which is his passive, this turn deal plus 25% damage for each turn in which Kariyan performed an attack this battle. This ability has a cooldown, not an initial but repeatable cooldown of 2 rounds. So just like Aesoth, you can use this ability twice in battle. In raids, you will want to use this as late as possible so that it stacks up as many plus 25% stacks as possible. So that should work out to use it on turn 3 at plus 50% ideally, probably 25 because depending on his speed he may not be able to attack on turn 1 against some bosses, and then again at turn 6 with plus 125% damage, which will be wicked. Okay, also maybe his normal attacks aren't power, maybe they are eviscerating, maybe, or even piercing. Okay, he's got a really weird damage profile. I suppose if we go back quickly to the description of him, it mentions he has a variety of combat styles, so this plays into that, this passive ability. Because after performing his first attack each turn, Kariyan performs an additional attack, which is variable. If he is adjacent to an enemy big target, reminder, all raid bosses are big targets, this attack deals 1 piercing hit to it with quite significant damage. If there is no adjacent enemy big target, Kariyan deals a number of power damage hits to each adjacent enemy instead, so basically he does a spin to win. Wicked. This will work well with, Aesoth. This will work well with Trajann Valoris. This will work with Vitruvius. And also Thoriad for their plus 1 hit with abilities. Okay. Moving on. Finally, Trajann Valoris. I believe he is the current captain of the Custodes. And yeah, so he has the martial kata for reduced damage from normal attacks from the enemies. Crushing strike, if he is stationary, he deals plus 50% damage with his melee attacks. And resilient, which I said I wouldn't mention, but looks like I did. Okay, so looks like he will have both a melee attack which will probably be power. And this looks like he will have a bolter attack, which is part of his active ability. The active ability, Trajann heals himself for a number of health for one round. He has an increased block chance, which I believe will scale with his rarity, or well, the upgrade level of his abilities, and blocks an additional number of damage. During that round, he also deals 2 bolter hits, which possibly also increases, to each enemy unit that moves from a hex adjacent to him. So basically, for 1 round, he can turn into Engrax while doing a sort of a last stand. So I think this will be more of a PvP ability. Similar to Aesoth, he runs into a pack of enemies, heals himself from possible overwatches taking him a little lower, and if the enemies attack him afterwards, he will probably take a little less damage from them, especially if they're ranged. If the enemies run away from him, he will punish them for it. Okay. Let's see about his passive. Enemies adjacent to enemy-friendly unit that has used an active ability this turn receive plus extra damage, since this usually increases roughly 100-fold from level 1 ability to level 100. They will take roughly 1000 damage more, I suspect, at level 50. If the affected enemies are also adjacent to Trajann, friendly characters, so no summons, score 1 additional hit. This seems it will scale up with his rarity again, or well, the development tier of the ability. So friendly characters score 1 additional, or a number of additional hits against the affected enemies with their first attack that is not a normal attack. Now, I see why Snowprint limited this to just the first attack that is not a normal attack, and the reason is raw, because I'm gonna assume he will increase the hit count of those ability attacks, let's say, by 3 at level 50. And yeah, if you can imagine Raw hitting let's say 6 times with his passive, with him and Vitruvius on combo attacks, then I'm sure you can understand why this doesn't affect all the attacks. Alright, so moving on from this, who will he work well with? Well, Titus, because of Titus's push-in auto-crit attack. Again, if this gets increased to 4 hits, maybe 5 with Vitruvius or Thoriad, that's gonna be absolutely devastating. He will work well with Kariyan, because he will basically double the number of hits, or multiple somehow. I think no, like quadruple, because again, I'm assuming he will increase the number of hits by 3. I may be wrong, but even if it's just double, then Kariyan will deal double damage to, let's say, the quadruple damage with his passive to raid bosses. God's Will, although with God's Will you will want to use this yeah, with God's Will you will want to have God's Will in place, and use his normal attack first before the passive triggers, so that the normal attack. No, actually, that doesn't work. His active ability, I meant. Right. That's why I was kind of confused there. So yeah, you will want to use God'swill's ability on a turn on which he was already adjacent to the target for a massive strike. Then you can also use it with Karn, I suppose. At least for one of his 2 passive attacks. And another funky possibility, also in combination with Aesoth, is going to be Sarkael, because even just 2 hits or 3 with Vitruvius from Sarkael's active are going to really hurt. But yeah, basically you will want to pair Trajann with heroes who have a secondary attack, like Galgortz's Grots, I guess, or those that have one massive ability. And you will want to cycle abilities, which will be more doable with heroes with repeatable abilities. Conveniently, those also buff Titus more. So Barakiel may finally be useful in raids. Huh. Okay, so at the first glance, I have to say that the Custodes look powerful. They seem to bring new variety of meta to the game. The question is that a good thing? I mean, if you have watched a few of my ranty videos, you know that I'm not a fan of power creep. And right now it looks like we will have at least 3 new Imperial heroes to build, for which we do not have the resources, at least as free-to players, especially if those of us who have built already Ragnar and I don't know how many meta Imperial characters. So this feels a bit like a FOMO scheme to sell more packs to us. And yes, I am being a cynical asshole about this. Anyway, we will get to see the Custodes in action soon enough in the upcoming survival event in a few days. So I'll be looking forward to that, to trying them out. And we will see if Snowprint has made the right decision about including the Custodes, who canonically have to be super powerful, or basically every 40k fan will be unhappy. And I think that's everything I have to say at this moment. So thank you for watching, listening, tasting, or whatever senses you are using to perceive my videos. And I'll see you again soon with something else. Tacticus wise, it's probably going to be a video on the survival event. Well, have a good one, tactician. Rest well. Have a good dinner. I don't know, copulate with your partner, whatever it is you do for fun when you're not playing Tacticus. Bye bye.